guys, it's LegoMatic9, and today I am finally showing you guys my custom LEGO Star Wars Episode 6 Return of the Jedi minifigures. Now this bunch of figures has been a very long-awaited project of mine to complete. I've been working on these guys for I think 2, maybe 3 months now, and I'm so happy I'm finished with them. These guys are some of my favorite figures I've made so far, some of my best work, but I'm just really excited to move on to my next project. But anyway, here is my Return of the Jedi figures. I've got Han Solo in the ENDOR gear, Slave Leia, Final Duel Luke, Boba Fett, Yoda, and Emperor Palpatine. So these guys are some of my best figures I've made so far, some of my personal favorites, so hopefully you guys really like this video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the close-ups on all 6 of these figures.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
First figure up is Luke Skywalker. Now this version of Luke Skywalker is in his Final Duel outfit at the end of Return of the Jedi. It is my favorite outfit Luke has throughout the original trilogy, so I was really excited to make Luke like this. So the outfit itself is pretty basic, but I did have a lot of fun working on him. So starting off, he has a custom-made lightsaber. If you are interested in how to make this particular lightsaber hilt, I do have a tutorial on how to do that, so there's a nice shameless plug for that video, so you guys can go and check that out if you'd like. I'm actually going to take that out of his hand for now, just so we can focus more on the figure. So starting off with the legs, he just has some black boots painted on in a glossy black. Now moving up to the torso, that's where the main paintwork comes in. Starting off with the 3D sections, he does have a flap in the center there that is made out of E-tape, so I glued that on except for the little corner, and I'll show you that a little later. So he's got that, and then he has a E-tape belt wrapping around the entire torso. Now the belt buckle itself is made out of metal from a soda can, and then he has other little details painted on. Now if we go ahead and turn him around, he does have a little pouch in the back sculpted on and then painted up. Now I did a lot of gray outlining just because it looked kind of plain without it. So I did some outlines for the that flap and then some other shirt stitches and stuff and the little collar and then some wrinkles. And then on the back he has some more patterns and stitching painted on. Now the face is just the standard Luke Skywalker face we've been getting for a little bit, but I left off the cheekbones. I used to paint them on the last 2 versions of Luke, but I left them off on this guy and I think it looks fine. Then the hair, this is where a lot of the sculpting came in. I think this was the Mutt Williams style hair, and then I sculpted all of the bangs and everything on there. I originally started with the Luke Skywalker hair that I used for A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Then I was like, you know, his hair's a lot different in this one, so I used a different base, and I think it turned out really awesome. So all this detail up here that you see, that was sculpted by me. And then I filled in the ear sections as well, since he had some pretty long hair around the ears, and then everything was painted up in a dark tan, and then it has some dark brown in there as well. Like I mentioned earlier, you can take this corner of his shirt and fold it down a little bit so you can see the white underneath. At the end of Return of the Jedi, his shirt kind of pops open with some nice symbolism there for the light side. So I included that little detail just in case I wanted to display him like that, and because it would feel wrong not to do that anyway. So I can fold that down if I'd like. Just another display option for me in case I want to have that. Now speaking of other display options for this guy, I also made the robes he wears at the beginning of the movie on Tatooine. I felt like it was easy enough to make these. I just took a Cape Madness trench coat and just turned it into the set of robes here. So all I have to do is just pop off the heads and the arms and slide it over the torso and then put them back on and it works. So it's just made out of fabric. Just got lots of robes. I think there's 3 layers total here. Wraps around, goes over the little pouch on the back there so that doesn't break off. But yeah, it was easy enough to do this, and I felt like it'd be a pretty cool display option. I saw Hot Toys do this with their Luke that's coming out next year, and I was like, yeah, I guess I could do that too. So, also included the robes from Tatooine. So, that's going to be it for Luke Skywalker. Next up is Princess Leia in her slave attire. Now I posted a poll in one of my update videos a few months ago asking you guys which version of Princess Leia you'd like to see me make, and Slave Leia won by a landslide. Gee, I wonder why. But after it won, I was like, okay, well I'll make this because people want to see it. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, you know, I actually really want to make this figure because it's so iconic. It's Leia's most iconic outfit, in my mind at least. And it's just such a unique design too. This is the most unique figure I have out of my Star Wars collection right now. It's so different. So I was really excited to make her, and I think it turned out awesome. There's not a lot of custom slave Leias out there, and this is probably one of the first. So I'm really, really pleased with how it turned out. So hopefully you guys like it. So we're going to start off with the legs. She just has some dark gray boots painted on there with some bronze outline. Moving up, she has this lower part of her bikini made out of E-tape, which wraps around. I think it's in 2 layers. She has some nice dark brown detail painted on the front there and some flesh on the sides. Then there's a piece of red fabric underneath that. Now, I kind of goofed up on here, so I got to point this out because it's driving me crazy. You guys can see right above this piece right here, there's this little strip of fabric still there. Now, I misglued this part of this piece right here, misglued that, so it's a little too low. It's supposed to be covering all the fabric, but I misglued it and just wasn't paying attention. I didn't realize it until my buddy Dylan, the Moose Figs, pointed it out to me saying, oh, you got to trim that off. And I was like, I can't, it's kind of glued on. So I screwed that up, but I just felt like pointing that out just because it's irritating me, and I want you guys to know that, yes, I'm aware that looks kind of off, but whatever. So again, she's got red fabric there, and on the back there, she's got a continuation of the bikini, and some more fabric on there as well. Now, moving up on the torso, the upper half of the bikini was made out of E-tape as well, glued on, then painted up in dark gray and bronze. And if it looks weird, it looked weird to me when I was painting this, and it looked weird to my buddy Jared Figs when we were talking about it. Like, the paint looks weird on this because you don't think of her outfit as bronze and gray. You think of it as just like bronze and gold and some red. I was not aware that there was this much gray on this figure, so it does look kind of off, but it is accurate. It was painted on her belly button there. And then she's got the continuation of the bikini on the side there that was just painted on, and then the straps on the back are also painted on. I was going to do those out of thread, but I decided not to because I went with the removable collar instead. So moving up, she does have a sculpted collar, which has this really nice chain that I just bought today and glued on from Michaels. It's some necklace chain or whatever I bought for $3, and it's just perfect for this. So this neck piece is removable, so I can take that off if I'd like to, but I'm not going to do that right now. Continuing up on the figure, I went with the, I guess, older looking Princess Leia head, or just the older version of that, just because I like this version a lot better than the new one that's out, and the new one that's out isn't as available as this one, and I really like this look. Then on the hair, this is just the Slave Leia hair from the official Lego set, with just the gold bits painted in bronze. So that is pretty much it for Slave Leia. Hopefully you guys like it.
Hey, it's me.
Next up is Han Solo in his Endor gear. Now, Han doesn't really have like a unique outfit to this movie other than this. If you look at this version of Han Solo without the trench coat, you're just like, okay, that's probably from A New Hope because it looks a lot like it. The only way you can tell is just the different colored pants. So that's why I did the camo trench coat, just to show that he's on Endor, because he wouldn't be wearing that anywhere else. So starting off with the gun, I showed you guys how to make this in my last tutorial. This is just a DL44 with the scope offset to the side and painted up. And now you can see the trench coat. So this is just a Cape Madness trench coat that was painted tan. And then some different colors were splotched on here. Wasn't really a specific camo pattern that was on there. It literally just looked like it was just a leather trench coat with some brown and green paint just splattered on there. So it wasn't really anything specific. So that's just what I went for, was just that kind of a messy splotch design. Then he does have some pockets painted onto the side there. Now, as you can see, he has a lot of detail underneath that trench coat. So let's go ahead and take this thing off. So you take off the arms in the trench coat, and you can see he has a pretty much whole other outfit underneath that. So this is just the basic attire he wears on the Assault on Endor, just without the trench coat. And I wanted to do this detail just because it would feel weird just having the vest just on the front and not go all the way around. So I think it turned out really nice. So this is pretty much just my A New Hope Han Solo, just with different pants. It's not the same figure, I just remade it, and I think it turned out pretty nice. So starting off with the legs, he's just got the boots painted on in black. He's got the yellow Corellian blood stripe going up both sides, as you can see. He has a little belt painted on below this 3D belt. Now, this 3D belt is made out of fabric. He's got a, I think I used E-tape for the buckle there, and then he's got a sculpted pouch there, and then a sculpted little, whatever that is, a little rod there. Then everything else was painted. He's got a non-functioning holster on there, and then just some other details painted on. And then, oh yeah, I used metal actually for the buckles there. I can tell I forgot to paint that one, but hey, whatever. There's a trench coat over that, so it doesn't matter. I didn't do the little pouches and stuff he has on the side of the belt there because it wouldn't really be worth it, because if I have the trench coat on, you're not going to be able to see that, and his hand's not going to be able to go all the way around. So left that out. And now the torso, the vest is glued down on top of that, so I can't really fold it back just to show you the paint underneath, but it's just a basic shirt that he wears with the collar painted on. And then the vest itself was a Cape Madness vest with some 3D pockets cut out and glued on there. So there's a nice little view of those. And then nothing on the back. I left out the 4 little rectangles he has in the big pouch, just because there's usually a trench coat over that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just the standard Han head and hair that they're using for the newer figures. Yeah, that's pretty much it for Han Solo and his Endor gear. Now this is the guy I have been dying to talk about this entire time, Boba Fett. So Boba is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, and so I was really excited to go back and make him. I made a Boba Fett back in like 2013, and ever since then I've been like, oh, I can improve that, I can do better, but I just never got around to doing it. I've been saying I was going to be making a Boba Fett for a long time now, but making these Return of the Jedi figures finally gave me a chance to do it, and I absolutely love how this guy turned out. I think he is my favorite figure I've made so far, and also my best figure I've made so far, so hopefully you guys agree. I just absolutely love how he turned out. Just, oh, I love it. Get ready for 5 minutes of gushing, by the way. That's how this is probably going to go, because I like this guy so much. So buckle in for some gushing there. So starting off with his gun, it is just a Brick Arms EE3 carbine, which is then painted in a gunmetal color, and it also has a brown stock. So I'm glad a third-party reseller finally gave us a proper EE3. So I'm going to just drop that down for now, so we can get a better look at the sculpt and the paint on this guy. So as you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on this guy. Just a lot of sculpt, a lot of things. Just absolutely love this. So starting off with the legs here, I sculpted on the little cargo pockets on his thighs. I also sculpted on the knee pads that also have the little knee dart shooters as well. Those were a pain to make just because of how small they were, and the Procreate wasn't wanting to stick because it was so small, but I finally got it to work, and I really love having that detail. So all that was painted in a kind of like a light gray mixed with some tan. And then the knee pads are painted in a kind of like a yellow-orange color. Got his boots painted on in some different colors of gray. It's got some gunmetal and black up front, and then some tan on the trim there. Now, moving up to the belt area, he has a metal cod piece made out of a soda can, and then he has a fabric belt that is painted in red that goes around the entire figure, and then he has the pouches. I think he usually has 8 pouches, but I was only able to fit on 6 pouches on his belt there. So those look pretty nice, painted up in brown color. Now moving up to the torso armor. Now the actual torso is painted in a kind of like a whitish light gray. It's not the same color. He's just got a different color for his chest there. Then the armor was sculpted on. That was a pain because usually I use a Clone Wars Mandalorian as a base for all of mine, just so I can use the print as a guideline for my sculpt, but Boba's armor is a little different, so it was kind of annoying to try to get everything symmetrical, but I think it turned out great. So that was painted in a dark green, and then dinged up, and then I got a fire spray logo painted on there. That thing, I am super proud of how that turned out. Just love that. Hopefully you guys can see that well. That was just a pain to make, but I'm really satisfied with the outcome. Like I said, he also has some battle damage on there with silver and some yellow as well. And moving on to the arms, we'll start with this side. This is his flamethrower arm. On this side he has a metal shoulder pad that was made out of, again, a soda can, Painted up in that orangish yellow, and then it has the white stripe and a dark red mythosaur skull on there. So that looks pretty good. On the actual gauntlet here, this was pretty fun to sculpt. Making Mandalorians is so much fun because it allows you to sculpt these really small details. So I always have a lot of fun doing the gauntlets, and this one turned out pretty great. I really like that. He's got the little wrist rocket on there as well, and then the flamethrower underneath. That's painted in a nice dark red color. So I'm trying to get all the angles on that sculpt there so you guys can see all the little details in that. Then he also has his gloves painted with the light gray. I feel like adding that detail just because his gloves looked a little plain. Moving on to this side, as you can see, he has the Wookiee braids up on his shoulder. I wanted to include those, and so I think using thread was a good move on my part. Really like those. He has a metal shoulder pad here, and then he has like all these little dart shooters on this side, I think. So you guys can see those. Those were actually sculpted on, then painted. All those little details, all those little geometric shapes sculpted on. He also has some tubes, I think 3 total, sculpted on there as well. So those are pretty fun. So really like that. Now moving on to the back here, I did sculpt the back armor, and then I was using magnets to hold the jetpack in, but I ended up just gluing it on just to keep it there. But this jetpack is a Clone Army Customs jetpack that I then modified to make it a little more accurate. What I did is I just made the missile a little bigger because I think theirs is a little too small. So I just sculpted over top that, and I think it looks great. And then I painted everything else using blue, dark red, that yellowish orange color, and then some silver and gunmetal as well. And then also battle damaged it up and added some black details. I think it looks pretty good. Moving up onto the helmet. Really pleased with how the helmet turned out. This is just a standard Mandalorian helmet. I think it was just a regular Boba Fett helmet that I then sculpted the, I guess the outline for the visor, sculpted the cheeks, and then I did the sides as well. Really pleased with the green color on that as well. It's kind of like a olive drab green. Really like that. It's got like a, the sides here were sculpted like I said, and those are painted kind of like in a greenish gunmetal. He's got dark red cheeks, red trim, and then a dark red back there. And then the battle damage was done using like a pavement color, which is like a dark gray, and then I did silver over top that, so it looked like paint was actually like chipping. So really like that. Some other details I painted on were these little triangles up front. Got one in black and one in dark orange. He has the dark orange tallies or whatever, or the just the stripe on there out of dark orange. Kind of like a Corellian blood stripe, but horizontal rather than vertical. Again, all that battle damage on there as well. Really love all that. It just looks great, I think. Now, one detail I did want to include on this guy was a range finder that could actually move. So this was pretty challenging to make, but I'm pretty pleased with it. It was made using a staple, so that can move down like so, and it also has the sculpted head on it as well. So make sure that stays in there. It's kind of tricky to make sure that doesn't fall out or anything. So there's that. Get that straight like that. And then also one thing I forgot to mention was just the cape here. So there's 7 minutes of me gushing on this guy, so definitely the longest part of this video. But again, I'm super pleased with how this guy turned out, so hopefully you guys like him. There is Boba Fett.
The Force will strong in your family. Pass on what you have learned.
So Yoda here is probably the smallest minifig I've ever had to make before, but I really like how he turned out. First thing I gotta say is a fellow named Jerd Figs helped me with this guy quite a bit by sculpting me the head. He made a Yoda, I think, last year sometime from Empire, and I really love how it turned out. He uses the baby figure, and I just thought that was a great idea. I think the actual idea for using the baby figure goes to Delta Customs. He was the first one to tell me about it, and then Jared or Jerd Figs was the first one to actually execute it. So go subscribe to both of them. Both of their links will be down in the description below, so go check them out. So again, Jerd Figs helped me with this guy quite a bit by sculpting me the head, because I just couldn't replicate it for my Yoda, so I just had him do it, and it turned out great. So, like I said, this is made out of a baby figure. I just think the size of this baby figure is just a lot better than using a minifig for Yoda with short legs. Like, I just don't think that scale works. But this scale works a lot better, and I'll show you guys a little size comparison later. But as you notice, the arms aren't locked in that forward position that the normal baby figure have them in. That's because I cut off the arms and made some little joints out of magnets. So these, it's just got a magnet in there, so these just clip right on like that, and you can move them anywhere you want it. And the other arm is just like that. So in terms of sculpt, he's just got the sculpted head, again done by Jared, as I've said for the millionth time. He's got the hair on the back there that is made out of a cotton ball. And then on the front here, his robes are sculpted on, and then everything else was painted. Then he also has just a fabric belt with a little pouch on there as well, just wrapping around. Then his cane is sculpted on there as well. So your Yoda turned out pretty great here. Really like the size. Let me bring in Luke real quick so you guys can see a size comparison. So I think the scale works. You know, might be a little small, but it's not bad. Like, this is not bad by any means. Like, if I would have made him out of a full Lego figure, it just would have looked weird. So yeah, there is Yoda.
Now, young Skywalker, you will die.
Last one up is Emperor Palpatine. Now, Palpatine here is probably the most basic out of all of these figures. He was actually the first one I made, but there's just not a lot to him. He's just robes, basically. So, starting off, you might be noticing that he's missing some Force lightning. I was trying to think of ways I could do it rather than just using the big Lego piece that he grips in his hand. I was thinking about using, like, wire and hot glue and stuff like that, but I just never got around to it, and I didn't really think it would be worth it. So, left that out, but I might revisit that in the future if I'd like to. I might do it for Dooku whenever I do him, and then go back to Palpatine and redo it. Anyway, Palpatine's really basic. Underneath this robe, he just has E-tape wrapped around his waist, so he's got like a full skirt or whatever, I don't know, like a gown, or I don't know what he wears. Then he has a belt made out of fabric that has the little tassels or whatever, the excess straps hanging down from the center there. Then over top of that, he has his robes that I painted in kind of a satin or semi-gloss black. And he has that little connector up at the top that was sculpted and painted up. So it looks pretty good. Arms are painted. Head is just the basic Palpatine head. And then the hood was painted to match the rest of the black color. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Emperor Palpatine. Pretty basic. Didn't really do all that much on him. But hey, he looks pretty good. He does the job. Alright guys, that is going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, as well as sticking around for me this long while I finished my Return of the Jedi figures. So now that I got the original trilogy out of the way, I'll be moving on to the other Star Wars films. But first, I want to do Shiva from Walking Dead. I want to have her out before the season comes back, so I'll be working on her next. Then after that, I'll have some Battlefront figures I'm going to be working on. And then it'll be time for Last Jedi. And then after Last Jedi, I'll probably do 2 waves of Last Jedi figures. And then I'll be doing 2 figures from Phantom Menace, 3 figures from Attack of the Clones, and then I think 6 or 7 figures from Revenge of the Sith. And then it'll be time for Han Solo. So all that stuff will be coming out within the next year, hopefully. So I've got a busy schedule ahead, so stay tuned for all that. I'm just really excited to get to Revenge of the Sith. I really want to make myself an Anakin and an Obi-Wan, but I'll wait till then to do that. So remember to go ahead and check out my other social media accounts. All will be linked to in the description, as well as go ahead and subscribe to Jared Figs and subscribe to Delta Customs, since they helped me out with that Yoda. Also, while you're at it, go ahead and drop me a comment down below telling me which of these figures is your favorite. Again, I'd have to go with Boba Fett. Just really, really love how he turned out. So let me know which one is your guys' favorite. And yeah, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later.